everybody, welcome back to the 300ZX Turbo project here in Glenn's garage. Today we're going to start digging into the rear brakes on the car. Front's all done, time to move to the back of the car. Okay, so car's jacked up, wheels are off, jack stands are underneath. I've got a backup jack under there. So I mean, if you're going to be doing this job at all, always just be careful, be safe first and foremost. So what I'm going to be doing here, I'm going to be taking off the caliper. I'm going to be removing it from the trailing arm here. Not planning at this point on disconnecting hoses, but I'm going to move it to one side. It'll get cleaned up there. The carrier frame will come off, rotor will come off, and everything then's going to get cleaned up. We're going to move on from that. We're going to take out springs and shocks, and it's going to be a whole bunch of cosmetic restoration under here. Alright, so first job for doing the brakes is going to be to disconnect the park brake or handbrake cable, which is this cable we're looking at right here. So that's this cable. So it runs up under the center of the vehicle, and you can see it right there. So it is. It sort of comes from the park brake, handbrake down here, and then there's this Y connector, if you will, and there's an adjuster here. On mine, this is all pretty slack already. It needs adjusting tighter, so I think it's already slack enough. If it's not, yes, where you put the slack in, you turn that until you adjust that. I've just sprayed it with WD-40 so that it'll be easier to adjust when I do have to tighten it up. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to release the clip on the caliper. Okay, so here's the park brake cable. This is the clip we've got to release. Once we release that clip, we can disconnect this from this arm here, and that'll be out of the way. That'll give us the movement we need on the caliper. Alright, so it's going to start just using a screwdriver here, see if I can get this to move. There we go, it's starting. There we go. Alright. Okay. We've got the brake cable disconnected from in here and just released out of the bracket there. Next thing I do, there's two what I call slider pins here. This is where the caliper slides in and out. You need 14mm socket. If you're just doing brake pads and you're not touching the rotor, you can release this one and then put a screwdriver in here. You can lift this up, lift it up enough to get the old pads out and get to putting the piston back. It is limited apparently by the length of the flexible brake line here, but that's the way you would do it. I'm taking everything off. This is going to get taken off and just hung up on the suspension here right now. So yeah, we'll get those off. Got this one. Oh, I should point out, I've had this shock out before and it was just thrown back in to hold things up. That's why this is out this far. It's coming out after the brakes are done, so I should explain that. We're going to probably need a wrench as opposed to a socket on that low one. Alright, so we're just going to hang this. I got a wire, a coat hanger up here. Just get this hung. Alright. So the actual caliper's now just released out of the way. So take the pads. Okay, so now what I call the caliper frame left here. We need the 17 mil. All right, so I got 17 mil socket. Got a little bar here just in case how tight they are. Oh, yeah, I didn't even need the bar. All right, that's the caliper frame out. All right, so next step, we have to get the rotor off. I put some WD-40 around the hub there. I gave it a bit of a jiggle here and it didn't happen. I just took just a rubber mallet, gave it a couple of taps around here and it's popped loose. So we can take that off now. All right. Now, interestingly, on these obviously aren't OEM ones. The OEM ones actually have two, if you will, jacking screw holes in here that if this is stuck, you can put a bolt through and you can actually remove the rotor from the hub here. Great, time to start putting the brakes back together here now. So, job one, we're going to get the rotor back on, just slips on. Okay, now in my case, this is the rotor that came off. I just cleaned it up, I measured it. It's effectively at the new rotor thickness. I think it's 11 mils. There were no grooves, no wear marks on it at all, so it made no sense to throw it away and replace it. So I'm using that again. Next step, we're going to put the carrier frame or the caliper frame, bolt that on here. I've already got the hardware, the clips that the pads sit in, clipped in place here, so we'll get this bolted up next. Okay, so 2 bolts, 17 mil socket with a lock washer, make sure that's on. Okay, so I'm going to torque these two down before I go any further because it gives me access. 53 to 72 foot-pounds of torque, so I'll get the torque wrench set and we'll just tighten those two down. Alright, next we're going to just pop the new pads in here. They're going to go into the hardware that's here. There we go. Always going to put up a fight when you don't want it to. There we go. Okay, and the other one, which is here somewhere. Here's the other one. So this has the arm or wear indicator, I guess, on it. So that's going to go. That goes on the inside. So we'll pop that in the same. Now, next thing, I put the actual caliper on, but before you do that, you're going to have to get the piston back on the caliper. And unlike the front where you can squeeze it back with a C-clamp or something, this one actually rotates back. Oh, there's the caliper. So you actually have to get on the piston here and rotate. As you rotate it, you push and it will go back, giving room for fresh new pads. Alright, so there are clearly a variety of ways to grip those. Here, get some light on here. Grip those 4 grooves and push that back. I happen to own, because I've had this one before, a set of for piston rotating. Push them back. And then you can use it just for pushing them back as well. So looking at the fact it's got 4, I'm suspecting it's this one. That'll go up in here. Yep, that will work. Alright, this one was quite stiff to get it started to move here. It's taking a bit of force, but I have got it starting to move and rotate in now. The previous vehicle I did, I think that was probably a Honda. It moved a lot easier, but it is starting to. There we go. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I've got the piston all the way back. Alright, so I've got the caliper already here. Piston's all pushed back, so it should just slip over. There we go. Okay, 2 what I call slider pin bolts, 14 mil socket on those. We'll just get those in place, and then we'll torque them down to 16 to 23 foot-pounds on these 2 smaller ones here. All right, everything's torqued down, tightened up nicely there. So last thing to do really, get the park brake cable back on. I removed the bracket that holds it here off the caliper, primarily because I cleaned everything up and painted everything. So, but I also found that this, at very least being loose, makes it a lot easier to get the cable installed. So I'm going to loosely put this on, and then we'll get the cable attached. Okay, so you can see the bracket hanging down here. It's loose right now. Cable here. Okay, so I've pushed the cable here up into the bracket. Now I just got to pull it towards me so that the metal part, there we are, the metal part engages, and then the clip can go on. And now I can take the end here, move it up, push this down, push that in, and there we go. Okay, so that's the end engaged in the mechanism. So now the only thing I have to do is take this clip, make sure this cable's far enough in, and put this clip up into the little groove that's in here. Okay, brake job completed. I'll just point out the jack there. It's pretty obvious, you couldn't have missed it. That's just because the rear shock's not in yet. That's got nothing to do with the brake job. Just supporting the control arm till we get the rear shock, the new rear shock absorber installed. All right, well, I'm pleased with that. Rear brakes are all done. Hope the video was helpful for you if you're looking at doing the rears yourself on your Z31. And check out all the other videos on the turbo project here. There's lots going on. There will be lots going on for months to come yet. And if you enjoy the videos, if you enjoy the channel at all, a like, a subscribe would be huge and much appreciated. And as always, everybody, drive safe, have a great day, and I hope I see you back here in the garage.